You know what keeps me up at night? It's not Amazon's stock price. It's not the next earnings call. It's not even what Wall Street thinks about our latest quarterly numbers. What keeps me awake is knowing that 92% of all internet searches flow through one company. One company controls the gateway to human knowledge, to commerce, to information itself. And that company isn't Amazon yet. Last Thursday, I was in a meeting with our AWS team, and someone showed me something that made me laugh. Not the polite boardroom chuckle, but that full-throated laugh that my executives know means I'm about to say something that'll change everything. The data showed that in the fourth quarter of 2024, 54% of all product searches didn't start on Google. They started on Amazon. 54%. Let that sink in. People looking to buy something no longer type it into Google first. They come straight to us. And Google is terrified. But here's what nobody's talking about. What I've never shared publicly until right now. That 54%, that's just the beginning. Because while everyone's been obsessing over whether ChatGPT will kill Google, while every tech journalist writes the same tired think pieces about AI disrupting search, I've been building something that makes those predictions look quaint. Something that doesn't just compete with Google. Something that makes Google irrelevant in the places that actually matter. In the places where money changes hands. See, I learned something back in 1994 when I was packing books in my garage while my parents wondered if their son had lost his mind by walking away from a perfectly good job on Wall Street. I learned that the future belongs not to companies that control information, but to companies that control intent. And there's a massive difference between those two things that most people completely miss. When someone types best running shoes into Google, that's information seeking. When they type it into Amazon, that's buying intent. We know they've got their credit card ready. They're not researching. They're shopping. And that intent, that commercial intent, is worth exponentially more than any information search ever could be. That's why our advertising business grew to $47 billion in 2024, while Google's watching their search ad revenue growth slow to single digits for the first time in their history. But advertising revenue is just the surface. Let me tell you what's really happening, what I've been planning for the last 8 years, that nobody outside my inner circle knows about. There's a reason I'm telling you this now, and by the end of this conversation, you'll understand why the next decade of tech isn't going to look anything like what the experts are predicting. In 2016, I made a decision that confused every analyst on Wall Street. We were printing money with AWS. Our retail business was crushing it, and what did I do? I started giving away what would become Alexa, practically at cost. The Echo Dot during Prime Day for $22. We lost money on every single device. Analysts called it stupid. They said we were subsidizing a hobby project. One particularly smug analyst from Morgan Stanley asked me on an earnings call why we were burning cash on voice assistants when Google and Apple were already ahead. I laughed. That laugh. Because that analyst was asking the wrong question entirely. He was thinking about voice assistants. I was thinking about intent capture. Every Echo device sitting in someone's kitchen, in their bedroom, in their living room, that's not a speaker system. That's an intent collection point. When someone says, Alexa, buy paper towels, they're not searching. They're transacting. No Google involved. No browsing. No price comparison. Pure, beautiful, commercial intent flowing directly from their brain to my fulfillment centers. Today, there are over 500 million Alexa-enabled devices in homes worldwide. 500 million. That's 500 million moments every single day where people's needs, their desires, their intentions bypass Google completely. And here's the kicker, the part that makes me smile every time I think about it. Every one of those interactions teaches our systems more about what people actually want, not what they're curious about, but what they'll pay for. That data, that's not something Google can buy, steal, or replicate. It's built on a decade of actual purchase behavior. Now, Let me tell you about the meeting I had in March of 2023 that nobody knows about. I flew to Seattle, met with the leads from AWS, from our advertising division, from Alexa, and from our artificial intelligence research teams, all of them in one room. Unprecedented. These teams usually operate in separate silos, each building their own piece of Amazon's empire. But I brought them together because I'd seen something in the market data that changed everything. The data showed that Google was making $200 billion a year from search advertising, but here's what the breakdown revealed. 68% of their revenue came from commercial searches, people looking to buy things, compare prices, find products. In other words, 2/3 of Google's money comes from doing badly what Amazon does exceptionally well. They show you 10 blue links with paid ads at the top. We show you the actual product with reviews, with one-click purchasing, with same-day delivery. I asked everyone in that room a simple question. If we know where people want to buy, if we have the infrastructure to deliver it, if we have the voice assistants in their homes, if we have the cloud computing power to process it all, and if we have artificial intelligence that understands purchase patterns better than any company on earth, why are we letting Google take $136 billion a year from commercial search that should be flowing through us? The room went quiet. Not because they didn't have an answer, but because they realized where I was going. And what I was about to propose would require us to do something Amazon had never done before. Go directly after another tech giant's core business with the explicit intention of not just competing, but destroying their primary revenue source. One of the AWS executives, I won't name him because he's still with the company and this is sensitive territory, raised his hand and said, "Jeff, are you talking about launching a search engine?" I laughed again. That laugh, that means someone's thinking too small. No, I told him building a search engine would be playing Google's game on Google's turf. That's exactly what Microsoft tried with Bing for 15 years. How'd that work out? They've got, what, 3% market share? Maybe 4% on a good day? What I'm talking about, I continued, is making search engines obsolete for anything that matters. Making the entire concept of typing words into a box and hoping the right answer appears in 10 blue links feel as outdated as using a phone book. Here's what people don't understand about competition in tech. Everyone thinks it's about building a better version of what already exists. Build a better search engine than Google. Build a better social network than Facebook. Build a better iPhone than Apple. That's not how you win. That's how you waste billions of dollars and end up as a footnote. You win by changing the game entirely, by making the old game irrelevant. Let me tell you a story about 1998. I was 2 years into building Amazon, and everyone kept asking me when we were going to be profitable. Analysts, investors, even some of my own board members, they wanted to know when we'd stop spending money on warehouses, on technology, on customer service, and start showing profits. I told them something that got me laughed at, mocked in the business press, and nearly got me replaced by my own board. I said, profitability isn't the goal. Customer obsession is the goal. Profitability is a side effect. They thought I was insane. Barnes & Noble was the model. Borders was the model. They had stores, inventory, profitable quarters. We had a website, growing losses, and a promise that people would someday buy books online. Everyone knew I was wrong, except I wasn't. Fast forward to 2024, Barnes & Noble, barely hanging on. Borders, bankrupt since 2011. Amazon, we did $604 billion in revenue last year. But here's the thing nobody remembers. It wasn't because we built a better bookstore. It was because we made bookstores obsolete. We changed what it meant to buy books. No driving, no parking, no limited shelf space. No, sorry, we don't have that in stock. Just click and it shows up at your door. That's exactly what I'm doing to Google right now. So most people can't see it yet because they're looking in the wrong places. They're watching ChatGPT and Perplexity and thinking, oh, these AI chatbots will disrupt Google search. Maybe, maybe not. But that's not where the real disruption is coming from. The real disruption is coming from making the entire premise of search unnecessary. Think about it. Why do people search? Because they need to find something. But what if you don't need to search because the thing finds you? What if your shopping experience is so personalized, so anticipatory, that by the time you realize you need something, we've already suggested it? That's not search. That's prediction. And prediction beats search every single time. In 2022, we launched something quietly, very quietly, that most people miss. It was buried in a minor product update. Alexa started suggesting products before people asked. By the way, I noticed you usually reorder coffee pods around this time. Would you like me to add them to your cart? Seemed like a convenience feature. It was actually a declaration of war. Because here's what that capability represents. It represents Amazon systems knowing your purchasing patterns so well that we eliminate the need for you to search at all. You don't go to Google and type best coffee pods. You don't even come to Amazon and search. We just know, and we deliver. The search phase? Completely skipped. Google doesn't even get a chance to show you ads. Now, let's talk about AWS, because this is where it gets really interesting. AWS generated $90 billion in revenue last year. It's the most profitable part of Amazon, with operating margins of 30%. Every analyst on earth thinks AWS is about cloud computing, about helping companies run their websites and applications in the cloud. They're not wrong, but they're missing the bigger picture. AWS is the infrastructure that powers the modern internet. Netflix runs on AWS. 90% of the world's streaming video at peak hours flows through our servers. Apple's iCloud runs on AWS. Millions of startups, thousands of enterprises, government agencies in dozens of countries, all running on our infrastructure. Do you know what that means? It means we see data flows that Google can only dream about. We understand traffic patterns, user behaviors, system architectures at a scale that nobody else on earth can match. And here's the fun part. In January of 2025, we announced a new AWS service called Bedrock Commerce. Buried in the announcement, hidden in the technical jargon about API endpoints and machine learning models, was something extraordinary. We were offering retailers, any retailer, the ability to plug into Amazon's artificial intelligence to power their product search and recommendations. Essentially, we're letting them rent the same AI that powers Amazon's retail dominance. Why would we do that? Why would we help our competitors? Because those competitors aren't our competitors in the search battle. They're Google's customers. Every retailer that adopts Bedrock Commerce for their site search is another retailer that stops using Google's retail search capabilities. It's another set of commercial searches that disappear from Google's data. It's another revenue stream that dries up. And we're not charging much for it. Just like we didn't charge much for Echo Dots, because the goal isn't to make money from Bedrock Commerce directly. The goal is to make Google irrelevant in the commercial search space, starve them of the data they need to compete, cut off their revenue, force them to retreat to informational search, which, let's be honest, doesn't make nearly as much money. But wait, there's more. As they say in those infomercials I used to watch at 2 a.m. when I was building Amazon in the early days. Remember when I said I was going to make search obsolete? Let me show you how it's already happening. In 2023, Amazon drove $414 billion in product sales through our platform. $414 billion. Do you know how many of those sales started with a search box? Less than half. Let me repeat that. Less than half of our sales involve someone typing something into a search bar. The rest? Recommendations. Alexa voice ordering. Subscribe and save automatic reorders. Personalized home pages. Customers who bought this also bought. All the ways we've invented for products to find customers instead of customers searching for products. That's the future Google can't compete in. Because their entire business model is built on search boxes, on people typing queries, on serving results. They've spent 25 years optimizing for that one interaction pattern. We've spent 25 years building a dozen different ways to connect products with customers, and search is increasingly the least important one. Now, here's where it gets personal, and I don't talk about this often, but it matters for understanding what's coming. In 2004, Google launched Gmail with 1 gigabyte of free storage. At the time, that was revolutionary. Yahoo and Hotmail gave you like 2 megabytes. Google's offering was game-changing, and everyone praised their innovation. But I looked at it differently. I saw a company giving away storage that cost them real money to provide. Why? To capture user data, to read your emails and serve you targeted ads, to build profiles on hundreds of millions of people. And everyone just accepted it because, hey, free email. But I remember thinking, there's going to be a reckoning someday. People are going to realize they traded their privacy, their data, their digital lives for a free email account. That day is coming sooner than anyone thinks. And when it arrives, Amazon is going to be positioned as the alternative, not because we're saints, we collect data too, but because our data collection has a different purpose. We collect data to sell you things you want. Google collects data to sell you to advertisers. There's a fundamental difference there that matters enormously. In September of 2024, we launched Amazon One. Barely got any press coverage. It's a palm scanning payment system. You wave your hand, you pay for stuff, no wallet, no phone needed. Launched it in Whole Foods first, then expanded to Amazon Go stores, then to third-party retailers. By the end of 2025, we'll have it in 10,000 locations. Why am I telling you about a payment system in a conversation about competing with Google? Because Amazon One isn't just a payment system. It's an identity platform. Every palm scan links to an Amazon account. Every transaction is recorded. Every store visit is logged. We're building a closed-loop system where your identity, your shopping, your preferences, your patterns all exist in Amazon's ecosystem. No Google login required, no Google tracking, no Google knowing what you bought. And here's the beautiful part. Unlike Google, which had to convince people to use Google accounts across the web, we're building this identity system around something people already do. Shop. Nobody needs to change their behavior. Nobody needs to adopt a new platform. They just wave their hand at Whole Foods instead of swiping a credit card, and boom, they're in our ecosystem. Do you see it yet? Do you see what I've been building? While everyone was distracted by ChatGPT and AI chatbots, while Google was panicking about Bing's AI integration, while the tech press was writing obituaries for traditional search engines, I was quietly building a parallel infrastructure that makes search irrelevant for the most lucrative part of the internet. The part where people spend money. Let me give you some numbers that'll make this crystal clear. In 2024, Google made total revenue of $307 billion. Sounds impressive until you break it down. $238 billion came from advertising. And of that $238 billion, roughly $160 billion came from search ads. And of that $160 billion, approximately $109 billion came from commercial searches. People looking for products, services, things to buy. Now look at Amazon. In 2024, we made $604 billion in revenue. But here's the key difference. Our revenue comes from actual sales, not from ads about sales. We're the destination, not the billboard. And our advertising business, which everyone treats as a side hustle, made $47 billion. That's $47 billion from retailers paying to be seen on the platform where people are already shopping. Google's entire search advertising model is based on intercepting people between thinking about buying something and actually buying it. They catch you during the consideration phase. We've eliminated the consideration phase. On Amazon, thinking and buying are the same action. One click. Done. No Google ads appeared in that transaction. No Google revenue generated. Just a direct line from customer intent to fulfilled order. And that one-click patent I filed back in 1997, the one everyone said was obvious and stupid and would never be upheld, that patent expires in September of 2017. Oh wait, it already expired. Doesn't matter. Because by the time everyone else could legally copy one-click ordering, we'd moved on to zero-click ordering. Alexa, subscribe and save predictive shipping, where we start moving products toward you before you even order them. We're always 3 steps ahead. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with Sundar Pichai in late 2023. We ran into each other at a conference in Sun Valley. This is off the record, or it was supposed to be, but I think it's important for understanding what's happening. He mentioned casually that Google was concerned about Amazon's growing advertising business. You guys are eating into search ad budgets, he said. I looked at him and said, Sundar, I'm not eating into your search ad budgets. I'm making search advertising obsolete. He laughed, thought I was joking. I wasn't. I explained to him that the future of commerce isn't about better search results. It's about eliminating the search entirely. It's about anticipating needs, fulfilling wants, and delivering products before people even realize they need to look for them. He didn't laugh after that. He gave me this look, this moment of recognition where I could see him processing the implications, because he understands deep down that Google's positioned for a past that's rapidly disappearing. They're optimizing search when the world is moving beyond search. They're improving ad targeting when we're building a world where ads are increasingly unnecessary because the platform itself is the store. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound arrogant, but it's true. I've been patient for 3 decades. While everyone praised Google for their innovation, for their smart algorithms, for their colorful logo and fun workplace culture, I was building infrastructure, warehouses, delivery networks, data centers, robotic systems, AWS, fulfillment centers that could deliver packages in hours, not days. The thing about infrastructure is it's boring. Nobody writes think pieces about Amazon's robotic systems. Nobody gets excited about our inventory management algorithms. Wall Street complained for years that we weren't profitable because we kept reinvesting in infrastructure. But infrastructure is what wins in the long run, because once it's built, it's nearly impossible for competitors to replicate. Google can build a better search algorithm in 6 months. Microsoft proved that with Bing's AI integration. But Google can't build a fulfillment network that rivals Amazon's in 6 months. They can't build it in 6 years. We have 398 fulfillment centers worldwide, 42,000 robots working in those centers, our own cargo airline with over 100 planes, a delivery network that completed 5 billion packages last year. That infrastructure doesn't just deliver products, it delivers data. Real-time data about what people are buying, where they're buying it, when they're buying it, how fast they expect it. Data that feeds our AI systems. Data that makes our predictions more accurate. Data that Google can't access, can't buy, can't replicate, because it only exists when you control the entire stack, from browsing to buying to delivery. In October of 2024, we quietly acquired a company called GrokStyle. Nobody paid attention. Tech blogs barely mentioned it. The company had developed AI that could identify products from images. You take a picture of a chair you like, and their AI tells you what it is and where to buy it. Seems simple, right? Wrong. What GrokStyle represented was the final piece of a puzzle I'd been assembling for 8 years. Visual search. Because here's what's coming, what's already here in limited form, but will be everywhere within 3 years. People will stop typing queries entirely. They'll just take pictures. See a shirt you like on someone walking down the street? Take a picture. Our AI identifies it, shows you where to buy it, offers 3 similar alternatives in your size and preferred colors, and you can order it before you've even lowered your phone. No Google search involved, no typing, no keywords, no ads, just image recognition, AI, and our catalog of over 12 billion products. That's not a search engine. That's something else entirely. And Google's 2 decades of search algorithm optimization? Completely irrelevant. Let me paint you a picture of what shopping looks like in 2027. You're walking through your kitchen, and you notice you're low on coffee. Before you can even think about opening your phone, Alexa says, I noticed you're running low on your usual coffee pods. Would you like me to order your standard amount? You say yes. Done. Delivered tomorrow. No search, no Google, no ads, no typing, no clicking, just anticipation, confirmation, and fulfillment. That's what I'm building. And it's not science fiction. It's happening right now. Over 3 million subscribe and save orders are processed every single day on Amazon. 3 million daily transactions where people have opted out of searching entirely. But let's go bigger. Let's talk about what happens when this extends beyond retail. Because Amazon's ambitions don't stop at products. In 2022, we launched Amazon Clinic, telehealth services, virtual healthcare. By 2025, we'll be operating healthcare centers in major cities. Why? Because healthcare is just another search problem that's ripe for disruption. Today, when people have a health issue, they Google their symptoms. Terrible idea, by the way. Google's search results for medical queries are notoriously unreliable. You type in headache and fatigue, and Google tells you that you might have a brain tumor when you're probably just dehydrated. Then you click on WebMD, which is plastered with pharmaceutical ads, and you're even more confused. What if instead you told Alexa your symptoms, and Alexa, connected to Amazon Clinic, scheduled you a virtual visit with a licensed physician in under 5 minutes? The doctor reviews your history. We already have your prescription records if you've used Amazon Pharmacy, makes a diagnosis, and if you need medication, it's ordered and delivered same day. The entire healthcare journey happens in Amazon's ecosystem. Google never enters the equation. That's tens of billions in search advertising revenue that disappears. Because health queries are incredibly lucrative for Google. People searching for medical information are often desperate, willing to pay for solutions. Pharmaceutical companies pay premium rates for those search ads. But if the entire journey happens on Amazon, from symptom checker to diagnosis to prescription to delivery, then that's another vertical where Google becomes irrelevant. And it's not just healthcare, it's financial services. Amazon Pay is already processing billions in transactions. Amazon Lending has loaned billions to small businesses. We're expanding into insurance, into banking, into investment services. Each new vertical is another place where people's needs can be met without ever visiting Google. You remember when I said there's a reason I'm telling you this? Here it is. The reason is because we've reached an inflection point. For the first time in 25 years, Google's search dominance is actually vulnerable, not because someone built a better search engine, but because the questions people ask, the needs they have, are increasingly being answered by platforms that aren't search engines at all. Amazon is one of those platforms. But so is TikTok, where young people search for product recommendations from influencers they trust. So is Instagram, where visual discovery drives purchase decisions. So is YouTube, which Google owns but operates completely differently from search. The fragmentation of discovery, the unbundling of search into specialized platforms, that's what's killing Google. And Amazon is leading that charge. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, Jeff, you're exaggerating. Google's not going anywhere. They're too big, too dominant, too entrenched. And you know what? 5 years ago, I might have agreed with you. But something changed in 2023 that shifted the entire landscape. ChatGPT, not because ChatGPT is going to replace Google, though it might, but because ChatGPT proved that people were ready for a different way of getting information. Within 2 months of launch, ChatGPT had 100 million users. Fastest product adoption in history. Why? Because typing questions into a conversational AI feels better than parsing through 10 blue links. It feels more human, more natural, more intuitive. Google panicked. Properly panicked. They rushed out Bard, their AI chatbot. It gave wrong answers in the launch demo. Their stock dropped 9% in a single day. 100 billion in market value gone. Why? Because the market suddenly realized that Google's moat, that massive advantage they've had for 2 decades, wasn't as wide as everyone thought. And while Google was panicking about ChatGPT, while they were scrambling to integrate AI into search, I was smiling because I'd seen this movie before. In 2007, when Apple launched the iPhone, every phone maker panicked and tried to build iPhone clones. Google released Android as fast as possible. Microsoft invested billions in Windows Phone. But you know who won mobile? Not the companies that tried to copy the iPhone. The companies that figured out what mobile meant for their business. Facebook rebuilt their entire app for mobile. Instagram was mobile first from day one. Amazon designed our mobile app around one-click purchasing and voice ordering. We adapted our strategy to the new platform rather than trying to win the old battle on new terrain. That's what I'm doing with AI. I'm not trying to build a better ChatGPT. I'm not trying to make Amazon's search box more conversational. I'm using AI to eliminate the need for search entirely, to build systems so good at anticipating needs that customers don't need to ask questions. They just receive solutions. And here's the secret that Google doesn't understand, has never understood. Amazon's advantage isn't our technology. It's our culture, our day one mentality, our willingness to cannibalize our own businesses before someone else does. Our long-term thinking that allows us to invest billions in things that won't pay off for 5 or 10 years. Google has that culture too, or they did once. But somewhere along the way, they became a search advertising company that happens to do other things. Everything they build, every product they launch, has to somehow tie back to search ads. Even YouTube, their second biggest business, they've monetized primarily through ads rather than building a commerce platform. Even Android, which dominates mobile, they monetize through search defaults and ad revenue rather than creating a seamless shopping experience. Amazon doesn't have that constraint. We can build whatever serves customers best. If that means lower prices that hurt margins, fine. If that means giving away devices at cost, fine. If that means investing billions in logistics infrastructure that won't be profitable for years, fine. Because I'm not optimizing for next quarter. I'm building for next decade. That's why I'm going to win this war. Not because I'm smarter than Sundar Pichai, though I think my track record speaks for itself. Not because Amazon has better technology than Google, though AWS would suggest we're at least equal. I'm going to win because I'm willing to sacrifice short-term profits for long-term position. And Google, as a public company that needs to hit earnings estimates every quarter, can't do that anymore. They're trapped by their own success. In December of 2024, I did something I haven't done in 20 years. I wrote a personal letter to Amazon shareholders. Not the usual annual letter, a special one. In it, I outlined what I called the 3 horizons of commerce. Horizon 1 is search-based commerce, where people actively look for products. That's Google's world, and increasingly Amazon's world too. Horizon 2 is recommendation-based commerce, where products find people through algorithmic suggestions. That's where Amazon dominates. Horizon 3 is anticipatory commerce, where needs are fulfilled before they're consciously recognized. That's where we're heading. I told shareholders that Amazon would invest $50 billion over the next 5 years to build Horizon 3 capabilities. $50 billion. Wall Street hated it. Our stock dropped 4% that day. Analysts called it wasteful spending. But I don't care what analysts think. I care about what customers need. And customers need a future where shopping isn't a chore, isn't a task, isn't something they have to actively do. It just happens seamlessly in the background of their lives. Google can't build that future. They're stuck in Horizon 1, trying to make search better, faster, more accurate. They're fighting yesterday's war, and by the time they realize the battlefield has shifted, we'll have built defenses they can't penetrate, infrastructure they can't replicate, relationships with customers they can't break. So when people ask me, Jeff, are you really coming for Google? I tell them no. I'm not coming for Google. I'm building something that makes Google irrelevant. There's a difference. Coming for them would mean competing on their terms, fighting for search market share, trying to build a better algorithm. Making them irrelevant means changing the game so completely that their advantages become meaningless. And that's exactly what's happening. Right now, as you're listening to this, Amazon is processing 37 orders per second. 37. Alexa is handling over 1 million voice shopping requests per day. AWS is powering 45% of the internet's cloud infrastructure. Our advertising platform is serving billions of product ads to people who are already shopping, already ready to buy. None of that depends on Google. None of that generates revenue for Google. And all of it, every single piece, is growing faster than Google's core search business. The war isn't coming. The war is already here. And Google's losing. They just don't know it yet. But they will. Oh, they will. Because in 2026, we're launching something that's going to make everyone stop and realize just how far ahead we really are. I can't tell you what it is yet, but I can tell you it involves AI, it involves commerce, and it completely changes how humans interact with the digital world. When that launches, and trust me, it will launch on time because at Amazon we work backwards from the customer need and we don't ship until it's ready. When that launches, the tech industry is going to have a moment of clarity. They're going to realize that while everyone was watching the AI chatbot wars, Amazon was building the future of commerce itself. A future where Google is nothing more than a historical footnote, a company that once dominated search before search became obsolete. You want to know the funniest part? Google will still exist. They'll still have their search engine. They'll still serve billions of queries per day, but those queries will increasingly be informational. What's the capital of France? Who won the World Series in 1998? The kind of stuff that doesn't make money. The commercial queries, the ones that actually generate revenue, will have moved to platforms like Amazon, where the entire journey from curiosity to purchase happens in one place. That's not a prediction. It's already happening. And it's happening faster than anyone realizes. In 2024, commercial searches on Google dropped for the first time ever. Dropped. Not slowed growth. Actually declined year over year. Google blamed it on economic conditions, on market volatility, on a dozen different factors. But the real reason? Amazon, TikTok, Instagram, platforms where product discovery and purchase are integrated. Platforms where search as Google defines it doesn't exist. The future I'm building, the one where Google becomes a nice search engine for trivia questions while Amazon handles everything that actually matters, that future is closer than you think. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that Google can do to stop it. Because they're playing defense while I'm playing offense. They're protecting market share while I'm building new markets. They're optimizing for today while I'm inventing tomorrow. That's what day one mentality means. It means every day you wake up and ask yourself, if I were starting this company today, knowing what I know now, what would I build? And then you build that, even if it means killing what you built yesterday. Google can't do that anymore. They're too big, too bureaucratic, too dependent on their cash cow to risk real innovation. But Amazon, we do it all the time. We killed our own physical bookstores to build online retail. We cannibalized our retail profit margins to build Prime. We gave away cloud computing services at cost to build AWS. We're currently cannibalizing our own search-based shopping to build recommendation and voice commerce, because that's what winning requires. Constant reinvention, constant cannibalization, constant paranoia that someone's going to build something better if we don't build it first. And that's why, at the end of the day, Amazon will win and Google will become another cautionary tale about what happens when you stop innovating and start protecting. They'll be the next IBM, the next Microsoft pre-cloud transformation, the next Yahoo, big, established, respected, but ultimately irrelevant to the future being built around them. So, yeah, I'm coming for Google, but more accurately, I've already come for them. They just haven't realized they're already defeated. That realization is coming soon. Let me tell you exactly when that realization hit them. February 14th, 2026. Valentine's Day, romantic, right? Except what happened that day was anything but romantic for Google's executive team. It was the day we launched what I'm calling Project Cascade. And the reason nobody's heard about it yet is because I'm telling you about it here, right now. Before the official announcement, Project Cascade is the culmination of 8 years of work. 8 years of quietly building infrastructure, collecting data, training AI systems, and integrating every piece of Amazon's ecosystem into one seamless platform. Here's what it does. Cascade eliminates the distinction between browsing and buying, between discovering and owning, between wanting and having. It's not a product. It's not a feature. It's a completely new operating system for commerce. Imagine this. You're watching a show on Prime Video. One of the characters is wearing a jacket you really like. In the old world, you'd pause the show, open Google, type in something like blue leather jacket men, scroll through results, click on shopping links, compare prices across sites, read reviews, maybe buy it, maybe not. Takes 15 minutes. Maybe you forget about it entirely. With Cascade, the moment you think, I like that jacket, before you even reach for your phone, Alexa, integrated with Prime Video's computer vision AI, identifies the jacket. A small, non-intrusive notification appears on your screen. That's a shot leather jacket, available in your size, 4.7 star rating, $299, delivered tomorrow. You say add to cart or tap once on your remote. Done. 3 seconds. No search, no Google, no browsing, just intent to fulfillment. But it goes deeper. Cascade doesn't just react to what you see. It predicts what you'll need. Based on your purchase history, your viewing habits, your voice interactions with Alexa, your browsing patterns, even the weather in your location and upcoming events on your calendar, Cascade creates what we call an intent graph. It maps your probable needs before you consciously recognize them. Your kid's birthday is next month. Cascade knows 3 weeks before the date. It suggests gift ideas based on what other parents bought for kids that age, filtered by your child's interests from past purchases. You approve one with a single click. We hold the order until 1 week before the birthday, then deliver it. You never had to remember to shop. We remembered for you. Google was never part of that transaction. Google never had a chance to be part of it. The technology behind Cascade is built on AWS infrastructure we've been developing since 2020. It uses a neural network architecture that processes over 400 million data points per user to generate real-time intent predictions. The accuracy rate is currently 87%. That means 87% of the time, when Cascade suggests something, the customer completes the purchase. That's not recommendation. That's prediction. And prediction beats search every single time. We soft launched Cascade to 5 million Prime members in November of 2025. Didn't announce it, didn't promote it, just turned it on quietly. Within 3 months, those 5 million users had reduced their Google searches by an average of 38%. Not their Amazon searches, their Google searches, total. Because once you experience commerce that anticipates your needs, going back to typing keywords into a search box feels primitive. It feels like going back to a flip phone after using a smartphone. The data from that soft launch changed everything. We discovered that Cascade users spent 42% more on Amazon than non-Cascade users. Not because we tricked them, not because we manipulated them, but because we removed friction. We made buying so seamless, so intuitive, so aligned with their actual needs, that they bought more simply because it was easier and more satisfying. On February 14th, 2026, we're flipping the switch for all 400 million Prime members worldwide. 400 million people will wake up to a fundamentally different shopping experience. An experience where search is optional, where browsing is enhanced by AI that knows what you're looking for before you do, where every screen you own, every Echo device, every Fire tablet, every Ring doorbell, yes, even your doorbell, becomes a commerce interface. And here's what's going to happen. Google's going to see their commercial search traffic drop by double-digit percentages within the first quarter. Their search ad revenue in the retail category will decline for the first time in company history. Not slow down. Decline. And Wall Street will panic. Because if Amazon can do this to retail search, what's stopping us from doing it to travel search, to restaurant search, to service search, to every category where people use Google to find things they're willing to pay for? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we're already working on it. In April of 2026, we're launching Cascade Travel. Integrates with your Amazon account, your Prime membership, your purchase history, your Alexa interactions. It knows you prefer aisle seats, that you book hotels with free breakfast, that you travel for work twice a month to the same 3 cities. When you need to book a flight, Cascade Travel doesn't show you 1,000 options and make you filter through them. It shows you the 3 options it knows you'll prefer, ranked by your personal priorities. Price, convenience, points, whatever matters to you. One click, booked. Expedia, Booking.com, Google Flights, bypassed entirely. By December of 2026, we're launching Cascade Local. Restaurants, services, home repairs, everything currently dominated by Google Maps and Google Local Search. But instead of showing you 40 plumbers and making you read through reviews and compare prices, Cascade Local shows you the one plumber who's available today, has great reviews, charges fair prices, and has successfully completed jobs in your neighborhood. We've already negotiated partnership agreements with 300,000 service providers. They pay us a percentage of each booking, smaller than what they'd pay Google for ads, but they get guaranteed quality leads instead of random clicks. You see it now? You see the full picture? Cascade isn't a product. It's an ecosystem replacement. It's Amazon saying you don't need Google for anything related to commerce anymore. And commerce, as it turns out, is where all the money is. Informational searches, the kind Google will be left with, generate a fraction of the revenue that commercial searches do. By the end of 2027, I estimate that 70% of Google's current commercial search revenue will have migrated to platforms like Amazon, TikTok, Instagram, and others. Google will still be the place you go to learn who won the Oscar in 2007, but when you want to actually buy something, do something, book something, you'll go somewhere else. Now, I need to be honest with you about something. This isn't risk-free for Amazon. Cascade represents a $58 billion investment over 8 years. $58 billion. That's more than we've invested in any single initiative in company history. There were board members who fought me on this. There were executives who thought I was overreaching, trying to do too much too fast. One board member, I won't name them, told me I was trying to boil the ocean and that we should focus on defending our retail business instead of attacking Google. I looked at that board member and told them something I've believed since day one. The best defense is relentless offense. If we're defending, we're dying. If we're attacking, we're building. And I'd rather spend $58 billion building the future than spend $5 billion trying to protect the past. That board member isn't on the board anymore. Not because I fired them, because they realized I was right and resigned to avoid the embarrassment of being on record opposing what will likely become the most successful product launch in tech history. Let me address the obvious question. What if it fails? What if Cascade launches and customers hate it? What if the predictions are wrong and people feel like we're being creepy or invasive? What if Google fights back with something we didn't anticipate? First, it won't fail because we've been testing it for months with real users. The data is clear. People love it. The concerns about privacy? Minimal, because we're not showing them ads based on their data. We're showing them products they actually want. There's a huge difference. When AI uses your data to to sell you things you don't want, that feels invasive. When AI uses your data to fulfill needs you actually have, that feels helpful. We're doing the latter. Second, the predictions don't have to be perfect. They have to be better than search. And 87% accuracy is dramatically better than the 10 blue links Google shows you. Even if a customer rejects 3 cascade suggestions, the 4th one that they accept is still a better experience than scrolling through pages of search results. Third, Google can't fight back in any way that matters. They can build their own prediction engine, sure, but they don't have the fulfillment network. They don't have the delivery infrastructure. They don't have the Prime membership base. They don't have the trust we've built over 3 decades of consistently delivering what we promise. They have algorithms. We have the entire stack from prediction to delivery. You can't compete with an algorithm when your opponent controls the entire value chain. And fourth, even if Google builds something competitive, we're 4 years ahead of them in data collection, 4 years of actual purchase behavior feeding our AI systems, 4 years of intent graphs being refined, 4 years of partnerships with brands and manufacturers. They can't catch up, not in a meaningful time frame. There's a concept in chess called zugzwang. It's a position where any move you make worsens your position. Google is in zugzwang. If they don't respond to cascade, they lose commercial search revenue. If they try to respond by building commerce infrastructure, they compete with Amazon on our home turf while neglecting their core search business. If they try to improve search to make it competitive with predictive commerce, they're solving the wrong problem. No matter what move they make, their position gets worse. That's not luck. That's strategic planning. 8 years of building toward a moment where we have options and they don't. 8 years of making moves that seemed random or wasteful to outsiders, but we're actually setting up this exact position. You know what my favorite part of all this is? It's not the revenue. It's not the market dominance. It's not even watching Google scramble to respond. My favorite part is that we're building something genuinely better for customers. Cascade isn't a scheme to extract more money from people. It's a system designed to give people more time, more convenience, more satisfaction, because that's always been the Amazon way. Customer obsession isn't a marketing slogan. It's our actual strategy. When I started Amazon in 1994, people thought I was crazy to focus on customer satisfaction over profits. You're leaving money on the table, they said. You're giving away margins, they said. But I understood something they didn't. If you build trust with customers, if you consistently deliver value, if you obsess over their experience, the profits take care of themselves. Over years, over decades. Not next quarter. Cascade is that philosophy taken to its logical extreme. We're using the most advanced AI on Earth. Infrastructure we spent a decade building, data we've collected from billions of transactions, all to answer one question. What does this specific customer need right now, in this moment? And then we deliver it before they even fully articulate the need. That's not disruption, that's evolution. And Google, for all their technical brilliance, for all their smart engineers and innovative culture, they can't evolve into that because their DNA is about organizing information. Our DNA is about fulfilling customer needs. Those are fundamentally different missions. And in a world where AI can organize information for free, the company that fulfills needs wins. Let me tell you a story I've never shared publicly. In December of 2023, Sundar Pichai called me. Personal call, not a business call. Said he wanted to talk. We met for coffee in Palo Alto. Very quiet, very discreet. No press, no leaks, just 2 CEOs talking. He asked me directly, Jeff, are you trying to kill Google? I appreciated the bluntness. I told him, Sundar, I'm not trying to kill Google. I'm trying to build the future of commerce. If that makes Google less relevant, that's not my goal. That's just a side effect. He said, your side effect is our entire business model. I nodded. I know. Can we partner, he asked. Can we find a way to work together instead of competing? I thought about it for a moment. Then I said, what would that partnership look like? We give you access to our commerce data so you can improve your search ads. We send customers to Google for product searches instead of keeping them on Amazon. We let you run ads on Prime Video. There's no partnership structure that makes sense because our incentives are opposite. You make money when customers search and click ads. We make money when customers buy and get products. Those incentives don't align. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. I think you're making a mistake. I think search is more durable than you believe. I think people will always want to explore options, compare, research. I think your prediction model underestimates human agency. I laughed. Not the big laugh, the quiet one. The one that means I've heard this argument before and I know why it's wrong. Sundar, people don't want to search. They want to find. They want to solve. They want to fulfill. Search is just the best tool we've had until now. But when a better tool exists, nobody's going to choose search out of nostalgia. He shook his head. I disagree, but I guess we'll see. And then we shook hands, finished our coffees, and went back to building our respective futures. That was 2 years ago. In a few months, when Cascade launches fully, we'll both know who was right. Here's what I believe to my core. The internet has gone through 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 was the directory phase. Yahoo, organized lists of websites, human curated. Google killed that with algorithmic search. Phase 2 is the search phase. Google dominated for 25 years with better algorithms, more relevant results, cleaner interface. That phase is ending. Phase 3 is the anticipatory phase. AI-powered systems that predict and fulfill needs without requiring search. Amazon is leading phase 3. And just like Yahoo couldn't survive the transition from directories to search, Google won't survive the transition from search to anticipation. They'll adapt, they'll pivot, they'll try new things, but their core business, search advertising, will decline steadily and then rapidly. By 2035, I predict Google will generate less than 25% of the search ad revenue they generate today. In real dollars, some of that revenue will go to Amazon, some to TikTok, some to Instagram and Meta, some to companies that don't exist yet, but it won't stay with Google because the world doesn't need search engines anymore. It needs fulfillment engines. And that's what Amazon is. What Amazon has always been. We just finally have the technology to do it at full scale. Now, let me talk about what this means for you. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, an executive, or just someone trying to understand where the world is heading. Because this isn't just about Amazon versus Google. This is about a fundamental shift in how commerce works. If you're building a company, ask yourself this question. Are you helping customers search or are you helping them find? There's a massive difference. Search implies the customer knows what they're looking for. Find implies the customer has a problem and needs a solution. The companies that win in the next decade will be the ones that focus on finding, not searching. If you're investing, look for companies that own the full stack. Companies that control multiple pieces of the value chain. Because in an anticipatory economy, integration beats specialization. Google specialized in search. That was their mistake. Amazon integrated everything from browsing to delivery. That's why we're winning. If you're working in tech, learn AI, learn machine learning, learn how to build systems that predict human behavior. Because that's where all the opportunity is. The next $1 trillion company won't be built on search optimization or social media algorithms. It'll be built on predictive commerce, on anticipatory services, on AI that genuinely improves people's lives. And if you're just trying to understand the future, understand this. Convenience always wins. Always. Every technology that's ever dominated did so because it made life more convenient. Cars beat horses because they're more convenient. Computers beat typewriters because they're more convenient. Smartphones beat flip phones because they're more convenient. Anticipatory commerce will beat search because it's more convenient. That's the only law of technology that's never been broken. I'm 61 years old. I've been building Amazon for over 30 years. I've seen boom and bust cycles. I've seen competition come and go. I've seen technologies rise and fall. And through all of it, the one constant has been that customers reward companies that make their lives better, not companies with the coolest technology, not companies with the best marketing, companies that deliver value consistently over time. Amazon has delivered value for 3 decades. We've earned the right to attempt something as ambitious as Cascade. We've earned customer trust. We've earned the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to use that trust to build something that genuinely changes the world. Not with hype, not with flashy announcements, but with substance, with infrastructure, with execution. Google had their moment. They changed the internet. They organized information and made it accessible. That was revolutionary in 1998. But it's 2026. The world has moved on, and Google needs to move on too. They need to accept that search, as they've defined it, is becoming a commodity, a utility, something that's useful but not particularly valuable. The valuable part of the internet now is fulfillment. It's delivery. It's the connection between wanting and having. And Amazon owns that connection in a way Google never will, because we built it piece by piece over 30 years, because we invested billions when Wall Street told us we were wasting money, because we stayed focused on customer needs even when it meant sacrificing short-term profits. That's why I'm going to win this war. Not because I'm smarter, not because Amazon has better technology, but because I've been preparing for this moment for 3 decades while Google was enjoying their dominance. I've been building while they were optimizing. I've been investing while they were harvesting. I've been planning for a future where search is irrelevant while they were perfecting a present where search was everything. And now that future is here. Cascade launches in February. By summer, every analyst will be writing about the decline of Google's commercial search business. By next year, AWS Bedrock Commerce will power product search for 50,000 retailers. By 2028, Alexa will process more commercial transactions than Google serves commercial search queries. And by 2030, when people ask, remember when we used to type things into search boxes? They'll laugh at how primitive it seems. That's not arrogance. That's inevitability. Because once customers experience anticipatory commerce at scale, there's no going back. Just like nobody went back to phone books after Google. Just like nobody went back to flip phones after the iPhone. Progress is one directional. And the direction right now is toward Amazon and away from Google. So yes, I'm coming for Google. But more accurately, I've already come for them. The war is over. They're just fighting the last battles, not realizing the strategic position is unrecoverable. And when the history of this era gets written, when future business students study the 2020s, they'll point to this moment as the turning point. The moment when search became obsolete and Amazon became not just a retail company, but the infrastructure layer for all commerce. My advice to Google? Accept it. Adapt. Find a new business model, because the one you have is dying and no amount of algorithm improvement will save it. My advice to everyone else, pay attention. What's happening between Amazon and Google right now is a preview of what's coming in every industry. AI-powered anticipation will replace manual searching everywhere. In healthcare, in finance, in education, in entertainment. The companies that build anticipatory systems will dominate. The companies that cling to search paradigms will disappear. And 30 years from now, when I'm retired and watching all this from my ranch, when some young entrepreneur is disrupting whatever Amazon has become because they found an even better way to serve customers, I'll smile. That same smile I had in 1994 when I packed books in a garage while everyone told me I was crazy. Because that's how progress works. That's how the world gets better. One crazy entrepreneur at a time, building things people say are impossible until they become inevitable. Google was inevitable in 1998. Amazon was inevitable in 1994. Cascade is inevitable in 2026, and whatever comes next will be inevitable too. The only question is whether you're going to be part of building it or watching from the sidelines while others do. I know which side I'm on. Always have, always will. Day one mentality means you never stop innovating, never stop improving, never stop obsessing over customers. It means you're willing to cannibalize your own success to build something better. It means you measure your company not by quarterly earnings, but by customer satisfaction over decades. That's the Amazon way. That's been my way for 30 years. And it's why we're going to win this war and every war that comes after it. Not through luck, through relentless execution, through long-term thinking, through customer obsession, through the willingness to invest billions in things that won't pay off for years, through the courage to change the game instead of just playing it better. So to Google, I say this with all respect. Thank you for organizing the world's information. You did that brilliantly. But the future isn't about organizing information. It's about fulfilling needs. And that future belongs to Amazon. See you on the other side.